Ugh. Um, some things you just can't explain, that's okay. And so, like, I won't even waste my time trying to explain it. But it is what it is, you know. Life is life. Things change, plans change, you know, and I guess, like, I don't know, everything makes sense eventually. And I think, like, that's something I just know, you know. I don't know. For me, like, you know, I've had two of my really close friends growing up tell me, "Oh, Dax, I totally see you being rich, bro. I totally see you being rich. Like, just something tells me Dax is gonna be rich one day." And I feel like, honestly, and I mean, there's no guarantee what's gonna happen for my future, but like, I feel like I'm gonna be rich in blessings, you know, like, not money. So I think my friends that I grew up with talk to me about money, like, "Oh yeah, Dax is gonna be rich one day. I just feel it." They thought I was gonna be rich in money, but I feel like I'm just gonna be rich in blessings, you know? Like, have a family, have a good job, have kids, you know, and a wife, hopefully, you know? Like, I guess that's all I want, you know? Just because, like, money doesn't change anything, which everybody says, but like, if you go and you watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians or something like that, or you watch, you know, interviews with celebrities or something like that, interviews that are a lot more casual than formal, you can kind of come to realize their quality of life is no better than other people's. Although they have millions of dollars, their quality of life is not nearly as good as some people with a lot less money than them. And a lot of people disagree with that, but it's true. You know, there's a cliche or common saying, money can't buy happiness. Yeah, it can, bro. Money can buy a nice car, a nice house, everything you ever wanted, bro. Money can buy a lot of things that can make you happy, bro. But um, studies have shown that, and this is an actual fact, I haven't looked into the studies, so I'm just going to preface this with I could be wrong, but I am pretty sure they have done studies on it of two different focus groups, I guess. Yeah, two different focus groups, I guess. One focus group is people that, so I'm not going to go into it, but basically the point is they did a study where they checked in on people. One people that one focus group was people that won the lottery. The other focus group was people that have become paraplegic or had those serious things happen to them, or they lost the ability to move their legs. And I'm pretty sure the study shows that the tests that were proven were that the quality of life, or the people's, like, happiness in their life was the same 1 year after what happened to them. And if that's true, that's crazy, because you're going to tell me somebody that won $100 million, they are just as happy in a year as somebody that lost the ability to move their legs. That makes no sense. That makes zero sense, because if you lose the ability to move your legs, you should be unhappy for the rest of your life. That's how it works, because you can't move your legs. However, people aren't. And same thing with winning $100 million. You should be happy for the rest of your life. You should be more happy than anyone on earth for the rest of your life if you win $100 million in the Powerball. Yet, you are just as happy as somebody that lost their legs, bro. I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent right now, but like, I don't know. I guess, like, I've gone the route of money, of entrepreneurship, of sales, of trying to make all the money I can. I went down that route a few years ago after I got back from Boston. And the reason why I left the sales industry is because I had these 5 to 10 year plans of all this money I was gonna make, of all these cars I was gonna have, these trucks, all the house I want, and yeah, and I was gonna commit to a career in door-to-door sales and in sales. And if I was still there, I'd probably make a ton of money. However, I would have $1 million house, and I'd be in it by myself. I'd probably have a Tesla in my garage, maybe a Ford Raptor on the driveway too. Nobody to drive around with. And that's when I realized, bro, like, I don't know, man. Like, well, like, of course, like, I feel like, when you say money can't buy happiness, I feel like it's kind of disrespectful to those that are living in poverty, because to them, they literally, all they want is to just have enough money to pay their bills, pay their rent, keep the lights on. So if they had a bit more money, they would be a lot happier. But bigger picture is that, I don't know. I haven't been thinking about this, but I'm thinking about it right now as I'm talking. Like, if you can't be happy right now, you'll never be happy. That's the truth. Like, that is the hard truth. Right now in your life, right now in my life at least, if I cannot be happy right now, like right now, I'll never be happy. Nothing is going to change. Like, there's a quote on my mission that really changed my life too. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Nothing changes if nothing changes. At the end of the day, nothing changes if nothing changes. Everything's going to stay the same exactly how it's always been if you want it to be. If nothing in your life changes, if nothing actually is altered, then there will be no change that happens. And that's okay. If you want it to be that way, that's totally okay. If you're happy with the way your life is, then there would be no reason for it to change. However, if you're unhappy, then there's the problem. And I think that's, of course, like, this is a little tangent, but that's why people kill themselves. And that's why people end up, messed up, and people end up, hurting other people because of being entrapped, of being unable to, get out of their mind, of their body, of their situation, And I was up in Cedar with a friend. He's a lot more wise than me, right? I'm trying to be as wise as him, but he mentioned to me, like, right and wrong, right? Like, in reality, there is no right and wrong, or, like, I guess, like, correct or false. Or, like, he just mentioned, like, that's made up. Like, at the end of the day, there's nobody, like, just chooses to be wrong. Everybody on earth is doing what they kind of believe to be right, in a sense, And I thought that was, wow, that's really true, People, like, when he said that made me think of people that shoot up schools or things like that. Horrible thing to do, right? Worst thing to ever do for a teenager to take a gun and shoot people with it, Innocent people. Horrible thing to do. That is wrong. Objectively, that's wrong. However, to that person, they didn't think that was wrong. They thought it was right to do. And I guess when I view life like that, it just makes me realize, wow, just makes me think, I guess, It mainly makes me realize, like, well, and also that conversation I had with that friend, it also made me, like, something him and I talked about too, is just that, like, and I told him this, everybody believes the lies they tell themselves and the lies that they tell others, It's a problem if you don't believe the lies you tell everybody, because everybody tells lies to everyone. They just have conviction with their lies, is what I mean. Because you don't know if you're doing wrong or not. You could think you're doing right, in your life, right? Like by if you get a job or something, or I don't know how to think of an example, but like let's say in your interpersonal relationships or something like that, or maybe in the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis, you may think you are doing the right thing when you're doing the wrong thing, right? And that's, I guess, the human experience. That's what learning is. But at the end of the day, like that's the thing is that a lot of people these days, I feel like they don't believe the lies that they tell themselves in the world. They don't believe their delusions. They don't believe their own world that they live in. They don't believe what they're doing is right. And that's the problem. Back in the day, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 1800s, when people didn't have to worry about anything. And that's something I've realized is like back in the 50s, yes, they had a lot of issues, right? Like every time period has its issues. We had Vietnam, and I think it was the 70s or 60s, and we had World War II, World War I. Those were horrible things that happened, and people had to die, I'm glad I don't have to be a part of that. But back then, though, everyday life back in the 50s was simple. People didn't think like they did today. And it's mainly because all they had was the radio. All they had was the color TV or the black and white TV. That's all they had that was being shoved into their brains. So all they had was a one linear way of thinking. Oh, I go get a job. Papa wants me to get a job. I'll go get a job at the cannery, or I'll go to the dairy. I jar milk. Or, oh man, I want to be a mechanic when I grow up. Or, oh, I saw Superman on the cartoon TV. I want to be like, that's all it is. Today, though, these days, vastly more complex. We have thoughts just like they did in the 50s. However, you take somebody from like the 50s, put them in today's world, their head's going to explode. Their head will explode. Like if you take a teenager from the 50s, put him in high school these days, he will implode. He'll probably just explode instantly because the relay of information is so strong and just vast and powerful, And that's the issue is like there's too much information these days. And but that's my thing is just that like back in the 50s, you had thoughts. And maybe at most, you had thoughts about those thoughts. Nowadays, you don't just have thoughts. And you don't just have, I don't even think in the 50s they had thoughts about their thoughts. They just had thoughts. Back in the 50s, they just had thoughts. These days, you have thoughts about your thoughts. You have thoughts about the way your thoughts are affecting your thoughts. You have a way, in your mind, you're thinking about what your thoughts are doing for your other thoughts in your life and what everything is going on. That's bad news, dude. That's why, I feel like that's why the field of psychology is so small these days, so small and still so new still. It's because the field of medicine has been practiced for hundreds and hundreds of years, because we've always needed doctors because there's always been physical injuries. But now is the time where we're becoming so advanced as people that our minds turn against us. Depression is the mind turning against itself. And it's somebody like today, these days, you can become trapped in plain sight. You can be bleeding out in front of everybody. That's what depression is. People kill themselves and people are baffled when their friend kills himself. Oh, I had no clue. It's like, well, yeah, that's how it works, okay? You don't tell anybody if you have depression. That's how it works. I don't know. I'm just yapping, but that's my problem. That's not a problem I have. It's just that, you don't have to be happy. And that's the point. You don't have to be happy. But everybody's hitting the happy button. Like the rats, there was a test done on rats. It's a famous test where they gave rats a button Every time they hit that button, food came out. Then they gave them another button. The other button had cocaine come out. What happened was the rats went crazy because they kept slamming the cocaine button and just getting high off coke. And the rats died because they didn't get enough food. That's how it works these days. And that's the deadliest thing, is it's not adults, just adults. Children, teenagers, adolescents are all slamming the hell out of the cocaine button. Going on social media, Twitter or X or whatever the hell it is, Instagram, Snapchat, swiping. The cocaine is all there for them. So they'll never have to go get food. They never have to go outside. They never have to talk to people. They never have to socialize. They never have to do anything that will actually help their bodies or their minds. People are dying inside, slowly but surely. Day by day, bodies are piling up in the streets. People are killing themselves at significantly higher rates than ever before. It's an epidemic, and it needs to stop. But it's sad because people don't know the truth. Nobody does, you know? I don't know. And to circle it back to the original thing that I started the video is just that, like, why did Robin Williams kill himself? Why? I've talked about that before. Why would Robin Williams, I don't know. He was loved so much by everyone. Everyone loved Robin Williams. Not just his friends, not just his family. He was famous, and everywhere he went, everybody loved him. He had all the money he could ever want in this world. He had a family too. He had a son, probably a few other kids, a wife. I think he had a wife. Why would he kill himself? I don't know. That's the issue with depression, is like, it's a disease. It corrupts the mind in such an insidious manner, in such a manner that is just unsettling. Like, it's like you're in a room and you're looking at a mirror. You can see yourself. Well, eventually, like, if you're in the wrong environment and you don't, like, somebody puts gas under the door in the room you're in, that gas slowly fogs up the room. And eventually you start not being able to see the mirror anymore. Who's in the mirror? Eventually, slowly but surely, you can't see anything, let alone the reflection in the mirror. You can't see anything. And it's poisonous. And you don't know that you can, you don't know how to scream for help to get out. You don't know how to. You don't know, and nobody's there. Nobody's outside the room. Nobody's there. The room has walls, 4 walls. It's one-way glass. You can see out, they can't see in. It's how it works. Not everybody, most people don't make it out the room. They're not able to figure it out, And they suffocate. They die there, and it's sad. Yeah, but that's okay, Because that's such a misconception about suicide, man. Like, it just has such a grotesque undertone to it. It just has such a blah. People just ick when they hear it. When they hear somebody suicidal or that shit. Because it's so misunderstood. And it's sad because it's like, I wish I could tell those people, like, believe me, if you were put in the environment and circumstances all these other people are in, you would have those same feelings. You would have those same thoughts. These are human beings that were not given the right nutrients, that were trapped in their own lives, in their own bodies, dude. That's the sad thing, is like, people think other people are crazy. People think people that are in psychiatric wards are crazy. Those are human freaking beings, dude. I was there, bro. When I was in the psychiatric ward, dude, There was a woman in the corner begging for help, crying. She was an older woman. It's like, holy shit, that chick is fucked up. But it's like, people don't realize that chick just isn't just crazy. So not just some crazy psycho chick. No, that's a human being, dude. And believe it or not, she's actually a lot more sane than other people may believe. Because I was there too. I've been there. Second time, I was hospitalized. I was supposed to get put in the psych ward overnight to be evaluated by psychologists. I was picked up, taken down to Vegas from St. George. I didn't know where I was, who I was. I was in a state of like serious psychosis. I had a psychotic episode, a manic psychotic episode, probably because of anxiety, but I hadn't eaten, hadn't drinking, I was delusional. And I went to bed that night, grown ass freaking man, 23 years old, 5'11", almost 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. I'm a bigger dude, I would say. Bawled my eyes out in bed, curled into a ball in my bed at my parents' house, bawled my eyes out because I did not know where I was. I genuinely didn't know where I was. It's a terrifying feeling. And I was there, whispering in tears, somebody help me, please, somebody help me. So at the end of the day, that's my issue. Didn't expect to go on a tangent, but like, I hate it. Like, it's just, dude, people don't understand shit these days, and it pisses me off. Anybody that is stuck in a burning building would jump. Because burning alive, burning to death, is far more painful than leaping to your death, than jumping and dying a painless death by hitting the concrete. Anybody would do that, you know? But when the body hits the ground, nobody knows where it came from. Freaking body just fell out of the sky. Whoa, just splattered all over the ground. What the heck? They didn't see. They were in a freaking burning building up top, bro. I don't know. I'm pissed off. I don't know what I'm talking about. I didn't expect to go off a tangent like this, bro. Just got a lot of thoughts about a lot of things, I guess. Bro, I'm a yapper. I be speaking nonsense, though. I do be speaking nonsense. Yeah, I don't know. I hope I'm making sense right now, but I might not be, you know? And if I'm not making sense, that's okay. But I'm making sense to me, you know? This stuff makes sense to me, but it's probably just because I've had these experiences, you know? Not everybody's had these experiences. And that's something I'm realizing too, is like most people that go their entire lives without having to see what I've seen or go through what I've gone through. And I need to remember that because for the rest of my life will not be as hard as it's been. And that's a good thing, you know. But, you know, I don't know, like eventually you're in darkness for so long that you go blind, man. And you don't know what sunlight looks like, you know. But other people, they'll never have to be in darkness, you know. They'll never have to experience what that's actually like to be face to face and enveloped in darkness, you know. It's fucked up, you know. And that's okay. And that's something I'm realizing is like that I'm no longer angry about it. You know, I used to be very angry because other people haven't had to go through what I'm gone through. They're just most people are very surface level. But at the same time, that's not true, you know. Everyone goes through what they go through, you know. While some people don't know what depression is like or suicidal thoughts and ideation are like, other people go through losing a child, having a miscarriage, or having their spouse die, or having them having to lose their job and go homeless, or have something horrible happen to them. People have horrible things happen to them all the time. And I'm not special, and my experiences aren't special. And that's one of the most crucial things I've realized. And that's the point. My entire time over these past few months, he's like, I felt like I'm special. My experiences are special. I'm unique because of all this stuff. And it's like, dude, shut the hell up. My experiences are unique. I am not unique. My experiences are special to me. I am not special. That's the point. Because when you are not special anymore, it's an incredibly freeing feeling, because you don't have the weight of the world on you anymore. When you think you're the most important person in the world, anything you do is either the greatest thing on earth or the worst possible thing ever, because everybody's watching you, because you're the man or the woman, you're the person. It's like, dude, your life gets so much easier when you take that pressure off yourself by realizing you're just like everybody else, and everybody else has their problems and their lives. You don't have to worry about anything, like people watching you or anything like that. It takes so much pressure off yourself. I'm done yapping though. Gosh, I should not just yap like this, bro. Oh my gosh. What the hell am I even talking about, I'm gonna delete the hell out of this. This sure as hell ain't going to YouTube, player. Bro, I'm not posting this to YouTube. This would be bad, Well, not bad, but it's just I'm just talking nonsense, Talking out my ass, But I don't know. Anyways, I'll catch you later.